Magwitch pulled my gold watch out of my pocket and looked at the ring on my finger and at my clothes and books. "What a fine gentleman you are now, Pip," he said happily. "Did you not think that I might be your benefactor?" "No, never," I replied, horrified. "Only Mr. Jaggers knew," Magwitch continued, "but all the time I was in Australia I was planning to return home, to see my gentleman." My heart sank when I heard this news. Miss Havisham was not my benefactor after all, and so Estella was not meant for me. And this convict had made me leave Joe for a new life in London. I felt sad and ashamed, but worse was to come. Magwitch came close to me and whispered, "The problem is, my boy, that I have a life sentence. If I am caught here, I will be put back in prison." What would I do with Magwitch? Where could he stay? I was upset by these and other questions that night, while Magwitch slept well in Herbert's room. On the way downstairs to get a light, I fell over something. It was a man, crouching in the corner. When I asked him what he was doing, he didn't reply and ran outside. I followed him, but the street was empty. I told the night watchman what had happened, and we looked for the man together, but we found no one. "We haven't had many visitors tonight because of the storm," the watchman said. "But I saw your visitor arrive at 11. He had another man with him, I think." "What did that other man look like?" I asked. The night watchman did not know exactly, but thought he wore a dark coat. In the morning, I asked Magwitch if he had brought a man with him. He denied it, but said that someone could have followed him into the building. "We'll turn you into the best gentleman in London, Pip," he said proudly, and threw a purse full of money onto the table. "Everything I have is yours, and there's a lot more where that came from." He then told me to call him Provis from now on. That was his name in Australia. When Provis said he had returned permanently, I went to see Mr. Jaggers at once. Unfortunately, he confirmed that Provis was my benefactor and advised me to be careful. I was sure that Provis would be caught. Even with the new clothes that I had bought him, he still looked like a convict. We did not go out for several days while I wondered what to do. Then Herbert returned. Provis told him not to tell anyone that he was there, and Herbert, who was as scared as I was, immediately agreed. "We'll make you a gentleman too, my boy," Provis laughed. I was grateful to Provis because he had done so much for me, but at the same time I also disliked his behavior. He boasted that he had made me a gentleman, and he thought that I would be happy with a wealthy new life in London. Now that I knew the truth, however, I was horrified. My benefactor was a criminal. I knew that I could not accept any more money from him in the future. Herbert and I knew that Provis would be caught if he stayed in England. As he had been so good to me, I felt it was my duty to help him escape. After that, I never wanted to see him again. The next day, Provis told Herbert and me about his life. He did not know where he was born or who his parents were. He had been alone for as long as he could remember. As a child, he was always hungry, so he stole and begged to survive. As he grew up, he continued to steal and spent more and more time in prison. However, when he was not in prison, he sometimes worked for a short time. He learnt to read and write from people that he met as he traveled around the country. He even got married, and it seemed that his life was finally improving. Then one day, he met a man called Compeyson. At first, Provis thought that his new friend was a gentleman. He wore fine clothes and spoke well. But then Provis discovered that Compeyson was really a dishonest person. He found out that Compeyson and his friend Arthur had been very successful in the past and had even tricked a rich young woman out of most of her money. They had now spent almost all the money and needed to get some more. Arthur could not help because he was too ill, but he also felt guilty for what he had done in the past. So Provis began to steal for Compeyson, and soon they were both caught. However, Compeyson told everyone in court that Provis was responsible for all the crimes. Because Compeyson looked and behaved like a gentleman, the court believed him. As a result, Provis was given a longer prison sentence than Compeyson. The two men were both sent to the same prison ship, far out on some marshes. One day, after they had had a bad argument, Provis dived off the ship and swam to land. It was while he was hiding in the graveyard nearby that he met me. Compeyson had also escaped from the ship that day. When I had met the second convict on the marshes and had told Provis that there was a second man, he had started to search for him. When the two men met, they began to fight. It was then that they were found by the soldiers and taken back to the prison ship. I remembered that Joe and I had walked with the soldiers that day and that we had seen what had happened. When the convicts had returned to the prison ship, Compeyson was put in leg irons for trying to escape. However, Provis got a life sentence and was sent to Australia. Well, you can see that I didn't stay there for life. I had to come back to see you, Pip, he said. I wanted to see you as a gentleman. At that moment, I began to feel sorry for Provis, but I was horrified by him too. Is Compeyson still alive? I asked. I don't know, he replied, but if he is, I am sure that he will want to kill me. Just then, Herbert showed me a note that he had written. It said, Miss Havisham's half-brother was called Arthur. Compeyson is the man who took Miss Havisham's fortune and deserted her. When I read this, I feared for Provis. Compeyson would certainly kill him if he found him. Herbert and I both knew now that Provis must leave the country as soon as possible. I felt that I must go with him to help him escape, and I did not know how long it would be before I would return.